So now, ladies and gentlemen, live and in color, it's Mr. Wayne Lovejuice.
The other day I produced a Louis, had a chat with an interesting chappie who said that the YouTube algorithms really aren't that happy. If a channel only broadcasts once a week, so we decided we could text ya whenever we've got a piece of news in our new book on the Track Extra. Hello ladies and gentlemen, if you don't know, my name's John Downs. I'm the director of the Centre for Fortean Zoology, and this is my cat Lilith. And every Saturday and every Wednesday we bring you a jolly little potpourri of hard science, weird shit and surreality. And if you don't know what surreality is, cop a load of this. I had too much to dream last night. Bing bang bong, bong, bing bong. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of On the Track Extra. As you probably know, at least I hope you know, because that means you've been watching the last few shows, a long-time friend of the show and of the CFZ in general, Mick Holland, said to us in the comments of one of the recent On the Tracks, could we do some more book reviews? And as I had Richard Freeman staying with me for the weekend, drinking his way through my wine cellar and making silly voices to the... Yes, V? What are you saying? You sniggering again, V?
Sorry. It was the wine cellar comment. Sorry. Bye.
You can't get the staff these days. Well, you should apologise, interrupting me while I'm in full flow. As I was saying before I was so rudely interrupted by young V there, who, by the way, is a very dear friend of mine. I've known him for well over 30 years, and he has been the butt of my jokes for most of that time. So don't write to me complaining that I'm being nasty to V. He loves it, really. He's one of these sort of weird YouTube masochists who enjoys being brought on to an episode. You do. You enjoy coming on to On the Track Extra and having me abuse you in front of all these hundreds of boys and girls. Say hello to the boys and girls, V.
Hello to the boys and girls, V.
Anyway, I can't remember where the hell I was, so backpedal.
Books.
Yes, books. Thank you, V. Mick Holland asked if we could do more reviews, and I had Richard Freeman up here making funny noises to the dog for the weekend, and I thought, hey, why not do a bunch of book reviews? So here we are with another book review. So let's show the show the dog the rabbit. What book are we doing today, Rich?
We're doing Ted Holliday's classic, The Goblin Universe.
An absolutely fan-bloody-tastic book. And although I like some of the other, I like most of the other books all the other books I've read of Ted Holliday's, this one is, to my mind, by far both the most important and the most entertaining. What do you think, Rich?
Well, it was published after he died. He died of a heart attack quite suddenly in the mid-70s. But he started out as a journalist, and he wrote books on angling. He was a clean angler. And he got interested in the Loch Ness monster mystery, and he wrote a book, The Great Orm of Loch Ness, about the monster. But as he continued his investigations, he became convinced that the Loch Ness monster wasn't a physical flesh and blood animal, but it was a paranormal manifestation. And he linked it with ancient legends of dragons, and he believed it was a malevolent supernatural entity, and similar creatures around the world were the same. And he died before he could publish his third book, The Goblin Universe, where he expands on this. And basically it's about a lot of things called a lot of Fortean phenomenon all being linked and being manifestations of broadly the same thing. His second book, The Dragon and the Disc,
which, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, Richard and I were going to make a cinematic adaptation of, weren't we, Richard?
Yes, we were going to do a Kung Fu Fortean road movie called Enter the Dragon and the Disc. I actually wrote the script for it, but it never got off the ground. But The Dragon and the Disc is where he first writes about this link between lake monsters, dragon legends and UFOs, thinking that they're all part of the same thing, and he links them back to ancient cave art and carvings and things. And he expands on this in the Goblin Universe. One of the most interesting things is where he teams up with the Reverend Dr. Donald Ormond, who was a exorcist, and there's a very good book about him as well called Devil Hunter, and he dealt with supposed demonic possession, but also he exercised things like black dogs. I don't mean he took a Labrador for a walk. I mean, he exercised a black shuck that was supposed to haunt a Yorkshire beach, a man supposedly possessed by a vampire, other things as well. And the most famous thing he did, he teamed up with Ted Holliday to exorcise Loch Ness, because they both believed that the Loch Ness monster was this malevolent supernatural dragon. And he first came up with this idea when he was in Norway in the fjord of the Trolls, and he was on a boat and he saw a sea serpent, and the captain explained to him that how he thought that the sea serpents were similar to the serpent in the Garden of Eden in Genesis, and that they were evil supernatural creatures. And he became convinced of this through other sightings, and eventually decided to try and exorcise the Loch Ness monster. And he went out on a boat with another priest and with Ted Holliday in, I think it was 73 or 74, to exorcise Loch Ness in a little rowboat. The Reverend Dr. Donald Ormond and Ted Holliday and another priest, and they did 5 exorcisms, one at each corner of the loch, at each point of the loch, and then one in the centre. And I'll read you a little bit of what he said towards the end of this rather long exorcism that covers several pages. I adjure thee, thou ancient serpent, by the judge of the quick and the dead, by him who made thee and the world, that thou cloak thyself no more in manifestations of prehistoric demons, and henceforth shall bring no sorrow to the children of men. Begone, hideous demon, unto the place appointed for thee, and return no more to plague the servants of Almighty God. He failed miserably because people still see the Loch Ness monster.
Watching Archie doing that is most distracting. You can't actually see what he's doing because you're looking at the camera, but Archie's going round and round and round in circles and putting his little snout underneath the blanket.
There, look.
Yeah, it's my favourite of Ted Holliday's books by far, and it is, I believe it was the late Colin Wilson who unearthed the unpublished manuscript and finally got it ready for publication and arranged its publication. I knew Colin not very well, but I'd met him on many occasions, and he told me once that of all the people that he'd met whilst doing Fortean stuff, whilst doing Fortean investigations, And isn't that more like 14 commentary? The Ted Holiday was one of the ones that had impressed him most. I find it an absolutely stunning book because it's not an end in itself. It's a bit like a road map which points off in all sorts of different directions and shows you how many different paths you can take and how many different options that you have to decide what you're going to do next. And I think it is, I hate to use the words like visionary and genius, but I think that at least while writing this book, Holiday was a true visionary, and that no serious Fortean researcher, or to be quite honest, no Fortean researcher at any level can afford not to have this book on their shelves. Go out and buy it. Tell them John Dan sent you, and you won't be disappointed. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is enough for this week. I hope you enjoyed it. Like I said when we recorded this, you really need to go out and buy that book because it is completely and utterly essential. It's one of the very few Fortean books that I would say is essential. Now, I'll be back again in a week's time, so never fear. And if you can't wait until the next On the Track Extra with me and Lilith next Wednesday, there is the normal show. If there's anything we can do that you can actually call normal, there is a normal episode of On the Track going to be going out on Saturday afternoon at 3. So until then, be seeing you.